Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. Welcome to my live quilting chat, Tipsy Tuesday. Hi everybody, thank you all for being with me tonight. I want to welcome you to the show, whether this is new to you or if you've been here for a while, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. Happy you're here and thanks for tuning in. Make sure you comment in the comment section to tell your name, where you're tuning in from. It's always fun to see where we're all from. Lots of people joining me tonight. I'm thankful for that. It's a hot and steamy day here in Minnesota. Summer seems to have finally fully arrived with a 90+ degree temperatures, which is going to stay nice and humid for at least a few days. Now, I want to start off by just telling you what quilts are hanging behind me. I changed up the set a little bit. So the quilt right behind me is my Gina pattern. Gina is one of my Stripology mixer patterns. So it uses 5-inch and 10-inch squares and 2.5-inch strips along with some background. So I decided to have her hanging with me tonight because she's extra fun, both fun to make and also because she is made with cocktail fabrics. And our table runner hanging off to the side is my little Alberta, which is made with a charm pack and some background. So those are the two new ones. The one on the ladder is my Taylor quilt, just the other colorway that you've probably seen before, but it just looks so good on the ladder, so I hung it back up. So great to see everybody. Lots of representation from all over the country, all over the world. Actually, I've seen Canada, I've seen Costa Rica, and some Europeans still awake, so I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Now on today's show, I wanted to give you some tips and some insight into using pins. So pinning or not. But I'm basically just going to show you what works for me and could possibly give you some hints and tips on being more efficient, which is always my goal, whatever I'm doing. So I'm going to share also our next sew along. So I hope you're excited. This one will take place in a few weeks, so you have lots of time to prep and kind of check out what you got at home and so on. Of course, I'm here to answer all your questions live, so make sure you post them in the comments. We will try our best to get to them. And of course, use those thumbs up and hearts if you like what you're seeing. If you're using mobile device, we appreciate that. That gets our video into in front of more eyes, so we appreciate that. Of course, sharing is also possible, and we do appreciate all of that work. So do we have some people joining us? Are you able to put any comments up? Or I see we have Florida, we have lots of folks joining us on YouTube as well. So great to see everybody. Wisconsin. I see you're already commenting on the craziness of pinning, like why pin? I'm totally with you. So I'm happy to share my tips on pinning or not pinning. Now, we of course have a giveaway towards the end of the show and 2 winners every Tipsy Tuesday. One will be chosen from your live comments and then 1 question that you can answer at the end. So if you are not able to join us live, you always have a chance to answer the question at the end of the show and then be entered into our giveaway. So our winner from last week's question, where I asked you, do you prefer a scrappy or a pieced back? And our winner is Ellen McConnell. Congratulations, Ellen. She likes her backs pieced. So I appreciate your answer on that because I'm right there with you. And so you have won a $25 gift card to the GE Design store, and we will be in touch with you. And if you see this, please send us a quick email or a message, and so we can get that gift card into your hands faster so you can go shopping. Now, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a really good one. Got a little bit out of the house, which is awesome. We got back out on a lake on a Saturday morning. It was a chilly morning. Again, it seems like every time we go on a lake, it's chilly, but you know what? It was cozy. I just brought a quilt. The sun came out a little bit late, and then in the afternoon, we actually had a family gathering and saw some close family that we haven't seen since March in person, only on screen. So that was really great. We celebrated Honey Producer's sister's birthday. Her name is Kathleen. And of course, we brought the cocktails. So I made a specialty cocktail. And so her name is Kathleen, but Mr. Honey calls her Cat. So of course, the name of the cocktail was the Cadillac with a K. So that was really fun. I might have to share that recipe with you later on. Now, we also did our Zoom lecture test last week. We watched actually our Gina Pattern that is a YouTube video and found on YouTube. So I made the quilt from start to finish in that video. And afterwards, during that live Zoom Q&A, when we did our test last week, I got a lot of questions about using pins. Because I will, of course, if you know me at all, I will try my best not to have to use them if I absolutely can't. So this is one of the reasons for why I prefer to press my seams to one side versus open. So that way I can have my seams nest and sometimes eliminate the use of pins when I can make them nest really nicely. It just makes everything fit together so much better and matches up so much better. Of course, that I will go through so you will make things nest without too much work. I do, if you haven't seen my patterns before, I do include pressing directions in all of my patterns, and I will go to great lengths to make everything nest together throughout the whole quilt. I will really go and go the extra mile for everybody. It's not always possible, but most times. I have even been known to change the pattern up just to make it work. So I only have to press seams open if I absolutely am forced to. And that is when I have a lot of seams coming together into one point and there's just too much bulk. And pressing things open would really alleviate that bulk. So that's the only times where I utilize pressing seams open. Because if you press all your seams open, yes, you will get a nice flat block. However, takes a lot longer, which is not where I want to go with things. And second, you would have to pin every seam to make things come together. Even just straight seams, you would have to pin every one to make them fit together. So I don't have a lot of patience, clearly, so that is not my favorite thing. So some cases, of course, I do need pins. And I do pin. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of insight into where I do use pins and where I don't. And big note here, this is just the way I do things. It's in no way saying that this is the right way to go or the wrong way. So I'm not saying anyone else's way is wrong. So just please take it with a grain of salt. You might pick up a little tips in here and there, especially with efficiency, I should say. So this is just what works for me. Okay, so let me start with this. When I'm just sewing single fabrics together, 2 squares, rectangles, stuff like that, I don't pin. I really don't. Now when I'm doing long pieces of fabric, most of the times I don't pin, especially if you're doing strip sets or something that's going to get subcut. I don't pin. No reason to pin. If I'm doing long pieces for backing, maybe perhaps I'll put a couple, and I'm going to talk about that later when I'm joining rows of blocks to put together a quilt. So I will talk about that later. So I don't use pin when I can perfectly nest seams together. So that means when the seams are going the right direction for my sewing machine, and I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit later. And if your pieces are small, it's really easy to feel and nest everything. So then I really don't use pins, not for small things. I do use some features, like I said, on my sewing machine to help out. So let me give you an example of that. We're going to go over to my sewing machine. So I have this bigger piece of fabric. So this is a bigger piece, of course, and this is, for example, if you were doing a 9 patch. And so you have to sew these together, and of course I press them opposite. So I press towards the darker fabric. So these are towards the middle, and then these are away from the middle. So when I put them together, the seams are nesting and going opposite direction. So I can easily, clearly feel these. And so if this was a smaller 9 patch or a 4 patch or whatever, I probably wouldn't use any pins. But I'm going to put this under my sewing machine, so I'm going to sew over this seam first, and you will notice that the seam is going away from me. So when I have that going on, what happens when your sewing machine or your foot goes over this seam, it kind of pushes those seams together. So this is going to nest perfectly. So I will just sew this this way and not put a seam in here, because I can feel they're close together, and just by moving my sewing machine or just sewing over it, the foot is going to go over it, just making sure that seam is folded under the foot correctly, and that is going to just push those seams together. Now the second one is going the opposite way, and if you have possibly noticed when you're doing 9 patches and things, one side seems to nest perfectly, and then sometimes this other side gets a little bit of a gap, and the reason is because, of course, when the foot goes over it, because the seam is going the opposite direction, there might be create a little gap here. So when a seam is going this direction, I sometimes just, especially when these with larger pieces, I might make sure it's nested, and then I pin that, just that one seam. And so then I utilize my sewing machine. So I have mine set, what it does, you will see it will half lift up. A lot of newer machines can have that setting, and I love that when I'm piecing. But I will move all the way close to the pin. You want to remove the pin before you sew over it. So I will get close to the pin. It ends up with needle down, but I want the foot to help me to hold things in place before I remove the pin. So I just pop that foot down, remove my pin, and then I continue on. And so these are the only cases when I have folded nested seams where I will use one pin when I have these longer pieces, and I want to just make sure that that will come together perfectly on both sides. So that is one event that I will use pins. Now, of course, the other one being when we have to really make things fit together and points fit together. So I'm just making a pinwheel, and so I've pressed things opposite, so this piece is pressed this way, this piece is pressed that way. So when we join them together, they are going opposite directions, but we want this point and this point to come together. So what you want to do is layer them together and check them out. Make sure they all kind of nest with the points together. I just check it like this, and sometimes you can even, if you want to be super accurate, you can put a pin through the point here, so it comes from this point, and then you just punch it into the other point, and then you have a pin going straight through, and then you know you're perfectly placed. But you don't want to just fold this one over and pin it, because then it gets misaligned. It's perfectly aligned when it's going straight through. Then you want to take that pin and go and pin on each side. So sometimes I will use pin on both sides of that seam that you are that you want to match, and then of course you can easily see where that seam needs to land for us to go right up to the point. So you want your seam to be coming right in here and landing right. Okay, now my pen doesn't work, of course, but you want to land right here. So let me just show you. So again, I will utilize the features on my sewing machine or my foot. So I will go as close as I can. And then this lifts up. I'm going to make sure everything is straight before I remove the pin. Put the foot back down, remove my pin, and then go slowly and pull out the next one and just keep going. So now we can check our pinwheel, and we got it good in the middle. So that's the only times where I would possibly use 2 pins. Sometimes one works. The third trick I want to tell you is when we're sewing together big rows of blocks. So we have a whole row of blocks that we're sewing together like this. So instead of sometimes pinning the whole way down, now I will say this doesn't always work. For example, if you did strip to shore, I recommend pinning each seam because we're working with a bias edge. But if you're just working with straight blocks, not much to match up in the middle of the blocks, we just have to match these edges. I actually will just work off of 2 pins. So I have one pin pinning in the first seam, and then the second pin pinning the second seam. So what I do, I start sewing, and then I will just go to the first pin, and again I'll get close, get my needle down, foot down again, remove the pin, and then go further. And then as I get to the second one, I will pin my next intersection. So I'll pin this next intersection using that first pin. So I'm really just using 2 all the way down. Now if you have bigger blocks, you might want to have in between 2, or if you have other things to match up. But this is a way I kind of slide down instead of spending a lot of time on pinning my whole row of blocks together. And so this will kind of save you some time. This is how I like to be efficient. Now, I am ready to answer your questions because I know you probably have some questions. Now, what do you think of this pinning? Do you like to pin? Some people pin every single thing, and that's okay. Everybody needs to just do what they want to do. So Renee is asking, what pattern are your example rows of blocks from? So these are actually, I found a stack of blocks from the Amelie pattern. It was a test. It was one of my prototype blocks because I didn't use a different fabric for the in-between, and it's really, really scrappy, but I found all these blocks. So I'm going to just sew them together and make I think it's a crib size, so it'd be a great little donation quilt. My sewing machine is, I'm using the Baby Lock Solaris. That's my new Sola, my little new love. It's really great. It has a lot of those cool features that I didn't have, like that half lift I showed you, and I can put the foot up and down, kind of control it. So, what kind of pins? Okay, so the pins that I prefer to use when I'm piecing are silk pins, and you saw those, the white and red heads. I have those stocked in the store because I really only use 2 different types of pins when I'm sewing. So these are when I'm piecing, and then I use quilting pins when I'm doing Quilt as you go, when I have to pin through thicker things, and they are thicker and sturdier, so they don't bend easily. The silk pins are really thin, so they're really only good for when you're doing just piecing, just a few layers. Do I ever use double pins? I tried it. It did not work for me. I felt like I could get more accuracy just by using, even when I needed to do 2. I don't know, because it's also when you remove the double pin, you remove on both sides. So I like being able to remove on one side. Somebody asked about borders. I do actually do pin my borders because you want to cut your borders to length. So you pin each side and you pin all the way because you don't want it to pull on one side. So yes, I do pin borders. Do
you use quarter or scant quarter seams?
Always use a scant 1/4 inch when you're piecing. And what that means, it doesn't mean you have to be like a half of a 1/4 inch. A scant 1/4 inch just means it's 2 needle widths less than a 1/4. So don't measure the seam. Sew your scant 1/4 inch seam, press, and then measure your piece. And then you'll have a scant 1/4 inch. That just means that it's a 1/4 once you have pressed it, because we need the few needle widths, just a couple of needle widths for that fabric to fold over. What size needle do you use on your machine? What size needle do I use on my machine? I normally just use a 75 or 80, size 80 sharp when I'm piecing, and actually when I'm quilting too. That's just kind of what I use all the time. The sharps are much sharper and leave lesser holes in the fabric. Just easier to do everything with the sharp, I feel like, because I don't really do any garment sewing or anything else. Okay. A lot of you pin kind of like me. A lot of you like the tip on using the 2 pins when you're doing rows of blocks. That's good. And one really good tip, somebody said, as I get more comfortable, I use less pins. And that is totally true. As you sew more, you get more comfortable. You kind of know how your fabric is going to behave. You get to know your machine better. You know if it's going to shift more or less. So it's just really good. One thing you showed was a great tip. I pin in the center of a pinwheel, then it skews it. I need to pin on either side. Yes, it's a key, because once you bend it, it skews the block.
Are magic pins good?
Magic pins. Are those the ones with the, I'm really so bad at kind of looking out for the newest things. I tried those. I like my little silk pins because Sometimes I've seen the bulky heads on like the magic pins, and I feel like they're so thick, so they would kind of not let my fabric be flat. But again, I haven't tried them. I like my pins sharp and thin, so they're easy to get in, easy to get out, easy to get accurate with them. Okay. So somebody's asking why a scant quarter, not just a quarter. So if you, so what we're saying here is when you have a 1/4 inch seam, which means if you sew a seam and measure, if that's a 1/4 inch, by the time you fold over the fabric, when you press it over, your piece is gonna be 2 or 3 needle widths less than a 1/4. So then as you sew more and more seams, your piece is not gonna end up being the right size. So a scant 1/4 inch just means couple of needle widths over. So I always recommend using a seam guide, because even though you have a 1/4 inch foot or a 1/4 inch setting on your machine, they're not all the same. They're not all a scant 1/4 inch, even though your manufacturer, your machine tells you they are. Test it. So you can either use a seam guide like I talk about I have a whole video on YouTube called piecing accuracy. And I talk about it there, how to use a seam guide to check your machine and how to measure, really sew some test pieces, press them, and then measure, and then you can find out where you have to kind of go back or forth, or maybe move your needle over and things like that. It's a tiny little thing, but once you get that perfect scant 1/4 inch, it just changes everything. Do I ever use glue sticks on my seams? I do in just certain situations. Again, I'm all about efficiency. If it takes too long, I move on. So if I'm faster doing things with seams, pins or something like this, than I would with a glue, I'll probably pin. However, if the glue really helps me in a certain way, like I've used it for a lot of my Quilt As You Go, putting in sashings and stuff like that, where it really makes things stay in place, I will do it. Not just on piecing blocks though. Close-up of my pins, yes. So I'll show you, they're called silk pins. I like clover because, so they come like this. They're red and white balls. So they're fairly short. They're about 2 inches, I think a little less than 2 inches. So these are the ones I use for piecing. And then my quilting pins are like this. Oh, scoot back. So these are my piecing pins. These are my quilting pins. And you'll see they are longer and they're thicker, so they don't bend as easily. They still bend though, as you can see. But these are my favorite piecing pins. And I've gotten them in different colors. There's different manufacturers that make them in different colors, but usually they'll say silk pins, so they're finer if they're called silk pins. Do you move the left or right? Do you move the left or? Do you move to the left or right? Probably talking about your needle. So that will depend on your seam. If your seam is too narrow, then you move to the left. If your seam is too wide, you move to the right. So you just, again, test. I'd say find that video on YouTube, piecing accuracy, watch it, and it's really great because it's not just your seam that comes into play when we're trying to be more accurate with our piecing. What's my favorite thread to piece with? I love Aurifil 50 weight cotton Mako, so it's really fine, still substantial enough, it will hold up nicely. So I use it for both quilting and for piecing. Okay, what's the pattern on the table runner behind me? I said Little Alberta. Is that one? I saw one question. So somebody said, do you always pin across? So if you're putting fabrics together, do you always put your pins across? Yes, you should always put your pins across, because if you're sewing two things together and you want to pin them this way, what we're really trying to do is make not make the machine move the top fabric so they stay together right. So if you pin this way, they can still slide on the edge of the fabric because your foot is just sewing the edge. So it has nothing to, it will do nothing to pin just two pieces together. It will have its purpose possibly in Quilt As You Go if you're just pinning a piece to a batting or something like that, but not for piecing. Okay. What fabric line is under my needle there? So this is an older fabric line because I just found these blocks and I decided to sew them together for you. It is a Kate Spain line from Moda. I don't remember what it was called. I'm so bad with remembering that kind of stuff because I like everything and I buy everything, so I don't remember. Are they glass head pins? Yes, it's glass. They're glass head pins, so they won't melt if you have iron on them. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so I think we've kind of gone through most of the questions that are there. If you have additional questions and you're on Facebook, make sure you're asking the crew or send me a quick email. That's always great. But I think we need to move on to our other topics. I wanted to tell you that I told you a little bit about, we tested our Zoom lecture last week. It went really great. We had a couple of things that we wanted to kind of troubleshoot and fix, and we got those done. It was really fun to catch up with you that joined us and helped us out a lot. Great questions. We were able to ask you questions, so we got it all figured out. So now officially, I am rolling out my virtual lectures. So the lecture that I travel around the country and the world with, the one that we have ready to go is the Stripology Mixology lecture, subtitled Put Your Stash to Work. So this lecture is a little bit over an hour. I talk about a little bit in the beginning, how I got into quilting, where I'm from, and then it talks about how I organize my stash, how I cut stuff up. It talks about the rulers, all the things it can do, and then I show you over 40 quilts, and you get to see them up close in the overhead camera, and also photos. Sometimes I show you little videos of how things are put together. So it's a fun lecture, same lecture that I would offer to guilds. So now I would doing a guild lecture actually this week for a guild in Colorado. But if you are a guild that is looking for virtual lectures, because a lot of teachers, of course, all teachers were shut down and not everybody's offering Zoom lectures. I do have openings now, and I will, of course, am offering it to all the guilds that we've had to cancel and going forward as well. So everything is on my website now, so all the group fees are there if you're a guild or a shop that would like to do this for a group. So it's under lectures and workshops. And but then we also are going to be able to offer lectures for individuals. So here are the first 3 dates that we have available. We are going to, I'm trying to do different times and different days for everybody all over the world so we can have different time zones. So we'll do the first opening is June 23rd, which is a Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then we have June 26th, which is a Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. And then June 28th, which is a Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So those are available now on my website. Actually, you go into the shop button and go to virtual lectures and classes, and then you just purchase it. So you would just purchase and go through the whole thing. Once you do the purchase, you will get a digital download just with the sheet, information sheet. And then the day before the lecture, we will send you the link, the Zoom link, and there's in that little informational sheet, there's also all kinds of tutorials you can watch if you're new to Zoom and things like that. And we had some people in the test class last week that were new to Zoom, so that worked out really, really great. So I hope some of you that have been asking for this are able to join us. Now we have limited spots for each of those slots, so if you miss out, don't worry. If we see that this is a popular thing, we will offer some more openings. So I'm excited about it. It's something that I have the opportunity for people all over the world, and in remote areas, some people don't belong to a guild or don't have a shop that brings in speakers close by, and this gives everybody an opportunity to take my lecture. So I'm excited, and hopefully you are too. All right, so any questions on the lectures? Are there any questions popping through? So somebody says, how long are the lectures? So how it works, I will start off with just a live little chat, making sure everybody is good with the Zoom and everything. And then the lecture part is a little over an hour. So, and it's pre-recorded, just so we could use all of our cameras and insert videos and things, because Zoom is kind of a little testy about using multiple cameras. So we kind of went around that with doing a video of that. And then at the end, I will do a Q&A live. So you are able to ask questions. And this is why I wanted to limit the number of people so that I can get to everybody's questions. So there's a very limited number of people versus our live. So there's a more chance that I can answer all of your questions. So from start to finish, we're giving us 2 hours. It could be shorter, it could be longer. It just, 2 hours is probably about right. I just want to it all depends on the Q&A, how long that will be. $19.95 is the price. So good old $19.95, affordable for all, I think. And so check that out on the website. It's all there. And those 3 dates, I hope those work for you. And if you're, want to give us suggestions on different dates, throw them out there. Now, of course, we should pick a live winner. Do you have a live winner ready? No, not ready. Okay, we'll do it later. Now, next thing I want to talk about, of course, is our sew-along. Now, I have to admit that you all have a big influence on me to do as far as what I choose to do as sew-alongs and such. Now, I'm about to tell you the next sew-along that is completely from your pressure. Completely. So this will be different from Elvira and Hope and Strip to Shore quilt-alongs. Note, I'm calling this a sew-along. Yes. We are going to be making the grab and go tote. Yes, a bag. So I have to tell you though, because I don't enjoy making bags. And it's done quilt as you go, but honestly, I don't really enjoy making bags. It's just not my thing. It's too putsy. I'd rather piece a king size quilt. But I can do it and I will do it, but it's just not something that I enjoy. So, however, I wrote this pattern 10 years ago for my book, Fast and Furious Family. And back then I made it out of using material for the batting. It was called Craft Tex. So it's interfacing that was stiffer and used Craft Tex. Now, since then, we have this amazing foam products come out, Soft and Stable by Annie, and all kinds of foam products. And I've always thought to myself, this bag would be really great in foam because we want it to, stand up. And this is a big, big, big tote. It fits so much stuff. I have about 5 of them I had initially. And I've used them for all those 9 years, a lot, all the time. I can load them up with quilts. I have one in my trunk for a long time for Costco runs and all kinds of things. So they're really sturdy. And another thing is I use laminated or coated fabric on the bottom so it can wipe it off easily if it gets dirty. So you can set it down in snow, wet if it's raining or sand or whatever, and you can wipe it off and it doesn't ruin anything in it. So I have always wanted to try it with foam. So I did, and actually, it goes together really, really fast. So this sew-along, we're going to do it. It's going to be, you're going to have some time. It's going to be in about 5 weeks. So here are the dates that we'll be actually doing the demos. So this is going to be more like a demo. So I'll demo the first parts of it. And so what I'm saying is demo is I'm going to just be giving you tips. So I'm not going to take you from start to finish, not like a class, but tips on certain parts that really are helpful, and it's going to just make it easy. So if you've never ever made a bag or anything like that, this is a great chance to do it. Now, it is big, so sometimes it's a little awkward to make, but it is easy, promise you. So during those 2 tips, so this is 5 weeks apart. This is in July because, as I told you this last Friday, there are going to be 2 Tuesdays in July that we're not going to have a show. We're going to go on a little trip. we're gonna go driving in an RV and see my little baby grandson and my son and family. So that is gonna be 2 Tuesdays that we're not gonna be here. So we're gonna just wait until after we get back to do those 2. So 2 Tipsy Tuesdays will be the demo. And so you got time to gather your materials, get maybe some cutting done, and finish other things. If you're working on something, you have a chance to finish some other things before this. So first off, let me tell you about this. So to find the pattern, it is in my Fast and Furious family book. So this book has actually 17 projects, all quilt as you go, all kinds of different things. And so it's available as a book, but it's now also available as an ebook. So if you're not in this country and would still like to participate, there's an ebook version, so no shipping needed. So that is just brand new. You can find that all on the website. Now, the coated fabric, we knew that this was going to be a hard to find one because this is not naturally in most quilt shops. So I reached out to Moda and they had a lot, and I got it all pretty much. So we have made kits exactly with this. So you'll need the coated fabric if you want to do coated. Of course, you don't need to have coated fabric on the bottom. You can use regular quilting cotton. You can even use some canvas fabric, anything you want. But the coated really adds that really usability of it. So we have put together a kit. So the coated fabric, then you will need a charm pack for the piece part, and then you'll need 1/2 yard of the binding and handle fabric, and then 1.25 yards of your lining. And so we have kits put together. So let me just show you what we have in the kits. And of course they are limited numbers, I need to tell you that. So that'll be the coated, the floral that I used, a lining, a binding, and then the charm pack to use for the piecing. So what's not in your kit is, of course, the foam or interfacing that you want to use. So the soft and stable, I got mine from By Annie, and I have a link in the description of the video straight to that product on her website if you don't have any of it and don't know if you can get it at a local store. So these kits are full kits except for the foam. But then we also have just the coated fabric. If you want to just get the coated fabric and then find your own fabrics, maybe from your stash, we have this. So it's a 3/4 yard already cut in that size on the website. And we have this charcoal floral. And then we also have it in a rose colored polka dot. So it's got a little texture to the polka dot. Can you see that? Yeah. And then we just don't have it yet. It's on its way. We'll have the teal color polka dot. So that's just sold separately, all in the fabric section of our website, kits and fabrics. So that is all available. And of course you will need the book. And so you got plenty of time. There's 5 weeks. I'm still going to tell you that don't wait to order this if you want any of this, because you know how things work here. So how much foam do you need? 1 yard. So Annie sells them in different packs. So 1 yard pack is perfect. You have some left over, but you get everything from there, including the handles. Because in the fabric requirements in the book, it will tell you that you would need the craft tacks for the body of the bag, and then you will need batting for the handles. I use the foam for both, and it's great. I love the foam handles. So let me just show you, here's another version of this bag that I made 9 years ago. This one is actually photographed in the book. And you can see how over time, the craft tacks just become slumpy. So this one will not stand up at all. It just will slump down. Can we do the overhead? Yeah, so this one is pretty slouchy. It will fall versus how this one stands, and it will stay open nicely for you like that. So that's the big difference, and I really enjoyed working with the foam. But lots of tips if you never sewn coated or laminated fabrics that I can give you during the sew along. I know it's not a quilt along, it's a sew along, and it's totally different. Believe me, I did not really want to do this all for you. So but don't worry, we will have a quilt along in August. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But this we're going to focus on first. And I'm kind of excited because I think I can share a lot of little tips with you. Okay. Yeah, I did. Somebody says, I hope you warned Annie. It's about to go down. I did. I sent her an email today and said, Annie, I'm just going to put your link here because I don't really want to carry all that soft and stable and fill up my house. It's full enough already of fabric. So she said, happy to get the orders and we'll get them out fast too. So that's great. Okay, so somebody said, I see some of your flare fabric. Yeah, there was a couple of pieces. Otherwise, it's just mixed. It's so, actually, no, that's not flare because, oh, the handles are. Yeah, you're right, your handles. The handles are flare.
How much foam batting do you need?
How much foam? 1 yard. So the foam, if you buy the soft and stable, I think it's 50 something wide. So 1 yard is plenty.
Is the vinyl in the kit?
The vinyl, if the kit, yes, the coated fabric is in the kit. Everything in the kit except for the foam. And then if you do want to just pick your fabric yourself, you could always do these. And so if you want to purchase from the website, I also thought, you know, the Tahoe ski week, if you have some of that fabric, I think this blue and this pink would go really well with that because we have those charm packs. And also, of course, any kind of bundle. And then if you're looking for lining, you need a 1.25 yards of the lining. So you could just get 2 1-yard cuts, and that could be your lining and your binding and your handles. It'll be enough for everything. So
Where's the kit on the site listed?
the kit is under, you know, if you go to shop, there's where the Stash Builder bundles are. So it's like fabrics and kits, not the 1 yards, but the fabrics and kits. So they're there. Also the coated. We didn't make this live until after the show started. So just give it a second. Amy is making everything live as we speak.
Does the kit come in only this color?
The kit comes only in this color. Believe me, I had to really look hard to get fabrics, and just so happened that this is from a line called Bloomington. So all the fabrics are from this line called Bloomington by Lella Boutique for Moda. And so they're all very well coordinated. And so that's the only kits we could get. But we're able to get more of the coated fabric so that you can then possibly just use what you have if you wanted to just get the coated fabric. No pockets in the bag. No, I don't do anything hard like that. I leave that to Annie and Sarah, those bag designers. Yeah, that would not be my thing. But of course, if you are an experienced bag maker, that could be totally added. I'm just not going to show you how to do that. Sorry.
Headliner type foam work?
Will a headliner foam work? So I think, you know, I know Boswell has foam. I know doesn't Pellon have foam, or there's other foam manufacturers. You want to make sure it's not too thick. So I believe Annie's is a little bit under 1/4 inch, and it's really maneuverable. If it's folded in the back, if it's wrinkly, you just iron it, and it's really nice and flat. What's nice about it too is the fabric kind of sticks to it a little bit. I would recommend basting spray. So a 505 basting spray is my favorite that I used when I made this one, and that's very helpful. Okay, so Rosemary says, do you have another description for coated fabric? Laminated fabric. So, you know, those tablecloths that, you know, you can get that are coated, you could probably use something like that. I know they're kind of stiff, but this Moda fabric is really, really nice because it's coated. But then the laminated fabrics have a different feel on it. It has more sheen to it. So there's coated and then there's laminated. I know there's different terms for things. So, all right, yeah, or vinyl. I know there's ways to laminate your own fabric, but I don't know how wide and big those pieces are because that's a pretty big piece. Gracie asks, will we be able to go back and watch the class afterwards? Yes, because this will be a part of a Tipsy Tuesday. So you could always go on YouTube or Facebook and just go to our website, and the Tipsy Tuesday listings has links directly to that episode. So that's... So Sarah's asking 18 by 58 or 36. So 36 by 58 because 36 is 1 yard. 18 is not enough.
What is the book name?
The book name is called Fast and Furious Family. Fast and Furious Family. And we will put up, we will put up a blog post tomorrow, kind of with all the information you would need to know now, with the dates, with the products, with the fabric requirements and everything. I do not carry 505 spray. Somebody was asking about that. It's just because it has limitations on what you can ship because it's an aerosol. So we haven't carried that.
Do you need zippers?
No zippers. No zippers for this bag. Yeah, soft and stable is 58 inches wide, and so you will need 1 yard. So you'll need the 36 inch by 58, and that's plenty. Somebody says pins can't work with vinyl. I know, so I'm going to give you some tips. So book name one more time, Fast and Furious Family.
Are those your kids on the book?
Those are not my kids. Those were my neighbors back then, back in 2010 or 11. And so these are, it'll be fun to see these kids now. They're preteens, I'm sure. Not in this book. There's another set of kids in here that actually were my neighbors in here. It's so fun to see this photo because these two kids were my neighbors when I made this book. So I was living in a different neighborhood, and now I'm like 3 houses from that neighborhood, and now they're my neighbors again. And they are, one of them is in middle school and the other one is, I think, 4th grade, 5th grade. So it's fun to see them age. This keeps them young, in my eyes at least. All right, I think we're good on the questions. So
Is the bag washable?
there is a product called Go Tote that makes your fabric waterproof. That will be an option too. I've never tried that myself. So those of you bag ladies and bag dudes that have tried those things maybe can share some info. And I would love to get that chatter going in the crew. We've got time, you guys. We got 5 weeks. So somebody says Go Tote waterproofing is fantastic. I've used it successfully. Do you use 505 on all your Quilt As You Go projects? No, I usually, if I'm using batting, I use a fusible batting. But 505, if I'm not using fusible batting, yes, I do. And also, if I'm quilting something myself, I use the 505 basting spray. All right. Okay. So I wanted to show you some more stuff. Of course, there's more stuff in the shop. More new stuff. I wanted to do the live winner first. Do we have that ready, Mister? Oh, Debbie Stem Stark is our winner. Miss Debbie, congratulations. You get to shop. You get to shop. Awesome, 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 Debbie. All right, so I wanted to give you a little bit of an update first. So we have Stratosphere back in stock. And so I'm not going to show you here. We just added the stock because now we have this new feature on the website. If something runs out and we know we're going to get it back, you can sign up for a notification when it's back. So you just put your email it's right next to the product. If you click on the product, it will be a box there to add your email. And so if you can't do that to a product, that just means we know it's not coming back. So Stratosphere is back in stock. Prismachrome is in the house. It's not in stock yet. It's in the house. Flower Child is in the house. And so that is all getting ready. And we have more stuff for the Strippy Forest kits, the Christmas line by Tim Holtz. That is in the house, just waiting to be cut. So that will be coming. So all of those are on the website. You can sign up for those notifications. Unfortunately, I thought I was getting more of the Dragonfly Garden. It's unfortunately sold out, so I won't be getting any more of that. However, we got some new things. And first up, I wanted to show you the fabric I used for the quilt in the corner, hanging on the ladder, is Tahoe Ski Week. So the bundles are in, and so now I want to show you what these awesome fabrics look like. So this is, of course, a ski themed fabric. So I love this print, which is with the skiers. So that comes in a few colors. I'm going to start with the light colors here, and just a little snowflake. So with that teal. So what I did when I choose which fabrics out of the line are going to become a bundle, I kind of chose a color theme. So in this bundle, I didn't use any of the reds. It has a lot of red accent. And so I chose kind of the lights and the blues and the browns because I thought they were really unique and really pretty together. So here we got the skiers again. I love these skis. And then we got the mittens on the clothesline, all the ski gloves and little mittens. We got the skis in the turquoise. But I also thought if you wanted to or needed to add a accent color, you could always pull in that red. And so here we have the gloves in the brown. I just love this deep chocolate brown. It's almost charcoal color. And then we have the snowflake and the skiers again in the brown. So that is the 12 SKUs I chose for the Tahoe Ski Week. Also exactly the same colors I used for the tailor quilt that's hanging in the corner. It's also shown on the back of the tailor. So back of the tailor pattern, this colorway. And it's really, really pretty. Has a really nice overall feel. And with the fabric, some of them being directional, it's really easy because you get to turn the blocks. And I just wanted to show you here with this laminated fabric, this pink one. See how pretty that would be with that, and even this teal one would work really well with both of those. So Tahoe Ski Week is in the house, brand new, and then we have 4 more bundles that are new. So we have a really pretty line that I could get some SKUs from Northcott. It's called Morning Glory. So some of them have this shimmer to it. So Morning Glories and hummingbirds, beautiful, beautiful with a shimmer. And so then I took some of these shimmers and then added some great basics, great coordinates that go with it. So I'm going to show you all the shimmer fabrics first, kind of larger scale florals. And here's, you can see the hummingbirds, a different print with hummingbirds. And it comes in the darker green. So this is all just kind of these beautiful pinks and violets and purples, and then this great greens. So really kind of toned down colorway. So these are the shimmer fabrics, and then I added just great basics. We have this canvas from Northcott, and so I did kind of a 2 of those, and then this one, because it was watering cans, I just felt it was really great, and then a light pink to coordinate with some of the lighter colors. So this is the Morning Glory bundle. So really pretty with a little hint of sparkle. I know some of you like sparkle. So this is new. And then we have another one where I could find some SKUs, and I added just a few coordinates. This one is called Bouquet, also by Northcott. And also a very controlled colorway, so just blacks and greens, and I love when I can do that. So beautiful butterflies in here, and so again florals, really, really pretty blossoms. Now somebody that is a great gardener could probably tell you what flowers they are. I don't really know. Kind of look like, I don't know, kind of look like a little bit like hydrangea, but this looks like a tree. I don't know. And we have this one in green as well. And then we have great kind of basics. So we have a diagonal kind of a plaid. Love a diagonal plaid. I love this print in the black. We have the vines in the green and a light one with green vines. A little bit of a geometric print, a stripe, and then I added just this beautiful green with a small white floral. So really pretty line too, and very kind of controlled colorway, so you can always add to it, add a background, add some gold into it if you needed to add any color, but we coordinate really nicely. This is called Bouquet, and then we have one this is going to be different from other bundles because it only got 10 prints in the bundle. It's called Cosmo, and it comes in 2 colorways, just grays and pinks or grays and teals. So there's 2 separate bundles, 10 prints in each bundle. So let me show you the prints. Very geometric, very kind of modern, cool styles, and then I just love that. I think this is a great builder, great quilt for babies, you know, young parents like more modern things. So I think these are just perfect. So, and so such a pretty hue of pink. It goes really nicely with all the different shades of gray and the charcoals, and all of them are geometric. So very much triangular shapes going on. So this is the 10 pieces in the pink. And then we have the turquoise or the teal, which is Same print, just a different colorway. So I just wanted to split them up because I just think that works better that way, but exact same prints. So you will find some of the prints are in both bundles, some of the grays are in both bundles. So it's just the teals and the teal accent ones that are in just their original. So here, this one is also in the pink one, and so is this and this. So very cool, different, and that's what I like. I like different stuff that I can see some new things cool going on. All right, so this is all brand new in the store, and I wanted to show you, because I noticed that some of you are collecting these, collecting the Stash Builder bundles. So I don't know if you've seen our project bag. So check this out. This has been, we've had it for a while, but this is kind of a square, not quite a square, project bag. So in here, you'll fit 5 bundles in here. So I saw a lot of you are just collecting them and then saving them for future quilts. And so if you need a storage, this one is quite perfect. And here's an example of, this is the Stratosphere that just came in. So that's back in stock. But this is how we package them. If you've never bought a Stash Builder bundle, on here we'll tell you how many half yards are in there. And if you wanted to cut it the Stripology way, we'll tell you here how many 10-inch squares, how many 2.5 and 1.5 inch strips you would get out of this pack. So just wanted to mention this bag because we have so many new people that maybe didn't see it. So that is our new stuff, and like I said, there's lots more in the house, so most of it is a restock, so it will be put back into inventory. So if you wanted to be notified and not miss out, make sure you sign up for those notifications. They're asking, where's Mr. Honey Producer? He's not making an appearance today. He's busy going back and forth between 2 computers, watching comments on both YouTube and Facebook. Or some of you are not happy that I busted you, that you are collecting. It's all good. I'm collecting too. Do you not think that there's one of each bundle in this room, in my sewing room? Of course. Of course. Most times I actually just get the scraps.
Where's the pattern for the teal quilt behind you?
What is the pattern for the 2 quilts? Oh, the teal. That's Taylor. One of my brand new patterns, Taylor. The one I did the Tahoe Ski Week. The other big one behind me is Gina. Both of them are Stripology mixer patterns using Gina's 5 and 10-inch squares and 2.5 inch strips. Taylor is 1.5, 2.5 inch strips, and then 10-inch squares. So, or fat quarters for either of them. Fat quarters, half yards work for either of them. All right. Any questions on that?
Kits are sold out.
Kits are sold out. I kind of knew that was going to happen. But I don't know if the laminate or the coated fabric is sold out. We may be able to get a little more. We cleaned them out pretty much, but if you if it's sold out, make sure you sign up for notifications if we do figure out a way to scrounge up some more. But that is going to be it for us today, except for our giveaway question. So my question to you, have you made a quilted bag before? Now, if you were to ask me, I have. I've tried a bunch of different patterns, but mostly I am a bag pattern collector. Yes, I always, when I go to quilt shows or go into a quilt shop and I see a really cool bag, I'm like, oh, I could do that. I want that bag. I could make a bag. So I buy the pattern and then nothing happens. There's always too many other quilts to make, and I always will gravitate to just piece. And so I am a bag pattern collector. But I have made bags. Mostly they're just little like zipper pouches and stuff like that. And as you may, previous Tipsy Tuesday last year, we had my friend Terry Atkinson on, and she showed us a really easy way to use zippers. And so I'm not afraid of zippers anymore. I know I can do it. I've tried some Sarah Lawson patterns, So Sweetness. They're great. Annie's patterns by Annie, they're amazing too. But there's just something about it. And I've heard this, that either you like quilting or piecing, or you like making bags. I was just having a little conversation actually with Miss Annie today, and I was telling her that this is really just pulling me out of you-know-what, pain in my you-know-what to have to do this, but I'm going to do it for all of you. And she was laughing because it's so opposite for her. I said, I'll piece a king size quilt, no problem. She said it's opposite for her. She'll make bags all day, but she had to make something quilted, a little something to fit something, and she's just procrastinating on that. So there might be a way to switch. But yeah, I have made them. It's not my favorite, but I'll do it for you. All right, that's how it works. Okay, so I'll be here next week. Next week will be Tipsy Tuesday. It's going to be June 23rd at 7 p.m. Central Time. And of course, this coming Friday, 3 p.m. in the crew and on YouTube. It'll be our Happy Friday show, of course, with a cocktail in hand. And hopefully I'll see you then. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.